There I am. Hi, how are you? Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. Oops. Yeah, I know what that is. All right, I hope everybody is having a great day. I hope everybody had a great weekend. We have a lot to talk about today. So I'm a little discombobulated today because I had a guest and then he had to cancel out. So, which I kind of would be annoying normally. But I have to give it to him because, I had scheduled him supposedly for the 8th. I had scheduled him for today, and then I scheduled him for next week, which I guess is the 4th, I think. Um, and then I thought I had scheduled him for today. Anyway, it was back and forth, but he said he could do it tonight, and then he had to cancel out. So anyway, but that's okay because there's a lot of great news to talk about. So it's just us. And I love these shows. I love these podcasts, these live casts when it's just us because you guys are so great. You leave your comments, ask questions. That's fine. If you're over a getter, you can do the same thing. I just have to read those out. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just leave your comments. I think you have to register. I think you have to have an account, but you can leave your comments and your questions, put them up on the screen. We'll talk about those. But there's a lot of stories, though, that I wanted to throw out to you. So we're going to do that as well. And, I just had one of those days. You know what I mean? One of those days where it was just one thing after the next. The freezer went down in our side by side. And so the guy came out and it was at the wrong time. And with the good news is, oh, we think we could just repair it. You don't need a new, a whole new refrigerator freezer. We could just fix the freezer. And then I got a call tonight. I'm not sure that he knows what he's doing. So I'm going to and then one of the furnaces went out, so the heat wasn't on. I came downstairs, it was like it's freezing because the heat was off. So a lot of things, it's one of those days, but that's okay. It could always be worse. It's the way I'm kind of looking at it. It's my new thing for the new year. I'm trying to just look at everything and say, it could be worse. So that's what I'm doing. If you've not done so, please subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. Please hit the like button. A lot of you watch the podcast, and I'll have, 70 people watching on YouTube or whatever it is, and 25 people liking the podcast. If you're watching, please take the time to hit that thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. Also, the audio is always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. Just look for Mary Walter Radio. Let me see. I was trying to get to these. The new. Here it is. Okay. New subscribers. Gary's here with us. Sherry. I don't know if I got Sherry last week. Goalie. A couple of comments that were left after people watched and then left comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you to Zach, who is our #1 fan. And thank you to Evie, Zach's dad, who does all of the graphics for me, because I appreciate you too as well. So shall we get to it? Let's see who's here. I love this part. Let's see who's here. Bill was here early. I saw that. Watching your back. Porchview Farm. Herbert says, play some electric Mozart bluegrass music. I've got some of that coming up for next month because Ron had sent me 5 different pieces of the bluegrass Mozart polka stuff. And so we'll do some of that next month. I like to spread it out because then it's not a treat if we have it all the time. Watch your back says we can hear you, Mary. Yeah. I knew I was live. I knew that was happening because my headset had cut out and we were trying to fix it. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, dealing with technology. You're right. I don't like that. Star Driver's here. Susan's here. Woot woot. Herbert Sal. Porchview Farm. I thought about the IT department when she talked about the drones during the press conference. Well, funny you should mention that. We will be talking about the drones. Suze, our boiler was down this morning too, Mary. Thankfully, we know a guy up and running again. Yeah, I just had to go downstairs and I had to just work my way through the little things to just reset it, because this is the boiler that heats the floors in the kitchen, laundry room, the first floor of the house. And when that's not on, when I went downstairs, it was 58 degrees. Now, that's not freezing, but I was like, ooh, it's definitely not warm down here. So I had to do that. So hopefully that will be fixed. Mary McCandless, tell us about the inaugural balls. Mayor, we did that last week. Where were you, girl? I showed my pictures, the whole bit. And by the way, if you're a part of the Facebook group, the Mary Walter Radio Facebook group, I will be posting those pictures there. I swear, I just have not had time to get around to it, but I will. So sorry, Mayor, you missed it. Now Tax USA, hello to all, better late than never. So, okay, since Porchview brought up the drones, let's start with that. So, did you see, first of all, Caroline Levitt tonight? What did you guys think of Caroline's press conference? I did not get to watch all of it because I had physical therapy, and then I just had a lot of moving parts today, and it was all moving at different speeds and not at the right time. So it was fun. But I didn't get to watch all of it, but I did see some of it. But I have a text thread with friends of mine from high school, and they were all chiming in like, "Oh, she's killing it! This is great!" They have a lot more time than I do, I guess, and they were all watching it. And from what they were saying, she was killing it. She was doing a great job. No binder, no notes. Girl came out, knew her stuff, and just boom, boom, boom. And she called on a lot of people. It wasn't just certain people. She answered questions. She didn't, she was everything the binder was not, which is so refreshing. Scott says, new pictures. No new pictures, Scott. I'm just going to put them on the page. Sue says, totally the same, but no hot water either. Yeah. Oh, you didn't have hot water either. Everybody's furnace, and it's not that cold now. It finally got warmer. It's not below freezing, and everything's our pizzeria in town last week, and it was really super cold. The pipes in their place burst, so no pizza. I mean, I can walk to one this way, but still, the one in town, no new pizza. But it's warm. You wouldn't think this would be happening. Okay, Porchview said Caroline did really well. Watching Your Back said she was awesome. Mary says Caroline needs to slow down. She speaks too quickly. That's because Mary's a Southerner now. Mary lived in Chicago. Well, I forget, she came from Illinois, I think, but she came into my junior high school in seventh grade, and she was my best friend for seventh and eighth grade. And then her family moved to Naperville, Illinois. And my graduation present from eighth grade was a trip to go visit Mary. And my parents, out of eighth grade, let me travel by myself to Chicago, which it was a different time, kids, and we weren't as dumb as kids are now. But yeah, traveled by myself to Chicago, got on the plane, and I got to go visit my best friend Mary. And now she lives down south. So I think she just thinks Caroline speaks quickly because she's from the south. Love you, Mayor. Now, Tax. I think the explanation was weak and still left with more questions than answers. So we're going to talk about that. Hermit Sal said, I only saw some of her press conference. She did pretty good. No notes, no binders, no being fry. Oh, Scott's back on the drones. Mary says, much better than KGP. Hermit Sal, I wonder about that drone explanation. What research did the FAA do, and what were the other things, and why? And why? All right, so if you didn't see it, the mystery drones flying over New Jersey were in other parts of the country. According to the explanation we got from Caroline Levitt, and therefore the Trump administration, now he said he was going to be all transparent with us, right? It said that they were authorized by the FAA, according to Caroline Levitt. She said, before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. She did not elaborate on the research. She didn't talk about the various other reasons, didn't say what that meant. She also added that some of the drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. She said, in time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. It's a statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news. So here's the thing. If we knew that they were ours and the FAA was flying them, then why was there restricted airspace over the power stations, the substations, various other nuclear plants, etc.? And then they added water treatment plants, water facilities, reservoirs, the piers along especially the Bay Shore at the northern part, the piers. Why did they add all of those? If they were ours and we were flying them and we knew that doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have no fly zones. That makes no sense. That's number one. And if this is all it was, why didn't the Biden administration come out and just say so? Just say, oh, yeah, they're ours. Don't worry about it. We're good. We're just testing some stuff. And that would have been it. But they didn't. And now all of the no-fly zones are gone, except if you know anything about Jersey, you know where Naval Weapons Station Earl is. It's huge. It's a huge section of New Jersey where they store a lot of the weapons for the ships. And there's a railroad track that goes, because it goes deep into New Jersey, and where a lot of this stuff is stored underground, and they've got, silos, all stuff, and they bring them up and they put them on the train and they take them to the pier out by Sandy Hook, and that's where they load them on the ships, right there in New York Harbor, right, just in the bay, on the bay shore. That's where they're on. So the no fly zone now, the restricted area now, is the piers, the Navy piers at Weapons Station Earl, and above the railroad line. So why would our guys, like, if they're the ones flying the drones, why can't they fly over that area if it's us? So I have questions. So this is the first thing for the Trump administration. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying it. What about you? Let me see what you have to say here. Hermes Star says anything is better than KJP and Little Red Lying Hood. Sal keeps hitting send by mistake. Now Tax says, what were they authorized for? We don't know. We have no idea what they were doing. Gregory, it's time for someone to ask the FAA some pertinent questions. Sal, what research was the FAA doing? What are the other things? And why were civilian drones allowed to fly in a research area? Exactly. Although there was a guy who was flying, we know at least one guy who was flying a drone trying to follow these other drones, and that the drone he was following went into a restricted area and kept going. His drone lost all power. So that kind of does sound like they were ours, right? So I don't know. Suze wants to hear from the FAA. Yeah. Now Tax USA, where are the FAA records? Same old, keep the deplorables in the dark. Scott, I can make it make all kinds of sense. Well, then do, please do. Porchview says the government was taking notes on our responses, just like the virus. Oh, maybe. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on 1 second. Turn my microphone off. Okay, one and done. I'm back. All right, let's see what Mary has to say, my little Southern friend. The drones may have been ours, but they may have been sniffing out something dangerous. If the Senate would approve Sean Duffy, we might get a better explanation. Maybe Trump is saving that for him. That's a great point, because the rumor was that they were looking for some kind of nuclear material. Remember, that came out officially, and then that was walked back. So that would make sense. Scott says the reason they make those restricted zones is because they update the info online, and people that have drones always look before they fly somewhere, and they can verify online it's not restricted. Yeah, but my husband can see if it's restricted or not because he's a pilot, and they were restricted airspace. They were for under 400 feet. So it wouldn't affect him as a pilot, but if you have a drone, it would affect you. Now Tax says, I guess we need to trust but verify. How do you verify? Sue says, don't make me get my tinfoil hat out again. We should all get tinfoil hats. I wonder if I could do this where you guys could join me on the video and we could all have our tinfoil hats, like one big Zoom meeting. Show me what you're drinking. Who's got their tinfoil hat on? So thank you, Sue. She said, bless you. Appreciate that. Scott says, because they're sensitive areas, you would not expect a drone to be seen ordinarily, so they were not already restricted, but were restricted given the current. Yes, but now they're not restricted. And if they were our drones, Scott, why would they restrict them? Hermit Sal says Carolina did a fine job. She not only did not need a binder, but she did not have the frustration that KGP had when questions got too tough. Exactly. Krager says Mary merch. Yeah. Tinfoil hats. Mary merch tinfoil hats. Tinfoil hats with "Make America Great Again" embroidered on them. I don't know how you embroider on tinfoil. I don't know how that works. All right. So if you have any more comments about the drones, let me hear it. Herman says, "I'm wearing tinfoil underwear. I'm not taking any chances." All right. Let's see. What does Portuguese Farm say? Have a tinfoil hat. I'm also a member of the Black Helicopter Club. I don't know what the Black Helicopter Club is. Oh, okay. So speaking of Caroline Levitt, did you see when she talked about why they were pausing federal spending and the left's losing its mind because God forbid people don't, doesn't have a steady flow of money coming out of the government coffers. And so they come up with all these things. Oh, if you're not going to get your welfare, you're not going to get this check. Kids aren't going to get lunch in school. All BS, all lies, all propaganda. They're just fear tactics. It's not true. But one of the payments that they stopped was for $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. The Doge found that. Doge found that $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. I don't know. These are the things that make me scratch my head and think maybe we should just pause government spending. And it was only until like February 2nd or something like that. It's not for a very long period of time. I think it was like 5 days that they wanted to, you know, stop the government spending just for 5 days. And the left lost their mind. But yeah, so that we can say things like $50 million for condoms in Gaza need to stop. We're not doing that. We're not going to spend 50 million on that. And the left will scream because I don't know why, but they would. I don't know. All government spending is good spending to them. Mary says, I can understand why we wouldn't want Hamas procreating. Gregory wants to know who is applying to be credentialed by the White House Press Club. I saw Dan Bongino's producer, Jim Verdi, who I adore, and has been on this show. He's been on the podcast. Yeah, you can go back and watch it. Jim Verdi has been here. He is applying to be our official correspondent to the White House from the Dan Bongino show. He'll probably get it because Bongino's got so many listeners and viewers and subscribers and such a huge audience. He'll probably get it. Porsche Farm says she is. Star Driver, we don't need to give foreign aid to countries that hate us. They can hate us for free. Exactly. And that's what Trump's talking about here. Why should we give these countries money? I think he even said that in his first term. Why are we giving countries money, countries that hate us money? Why? Why do we do that? If you hate us, we shouldn't be giving you anything. So I'm sure there's some weird, compassionate, humanitarian reason why we have to give Gaza $50 million in condoms. And I don't know, let's say a condom cost $1. That's 50 million condoms. I don't know. How many condoms do you think they go through in like a year? I don't know. It's a slippery slope, and I don't necessarily want to go down it, but it does beg a lot of questions. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Tax said, I believe some experts said it had to do with rifle, a gun dust control, or is it a form of gun control? Okay. Sal says, I have Israel booby trap the condoms the way they booby trap the cell phones. Sure, Jersey Shore has, seriously, how many condoms would 50 million pay for? At Planned Parenthood, they're like $1, right? So if you buy them in bulk, like you could buy them in bulk from BJ's and Costco and Sam's, the warehouse stores, you can buy condoms in bulk. Because I saw them and I was like fascinated by them. Like, who needs that many condoms? So if you're buying them at the warehouse club, or you're buying in bulk, you probably get a discount unless you're the government, in which case you pay twice as much. But even if you're paying 50 million for a dollar each, that's a lot of condoms that I don't think they need that many. Even if you're paying $2 each, that's still a lot of condoms. Star Driver, we give foreign aid to countries to help their people, then they send us their bad people to take care of. Exactly. Sue's, a lot of action going on in Gaza, I suppose. Oh, here we go. Sure, Jersey, slippery slope. In other words, well lubricated. Very funny. Someone said there was a shortage in green party balloons. No, Tax USA. Sue's, maybe they use them for drug running. Ah, there you go. Yeah, it's using the old beaner there. Yeah, maybe that's what's going. They're doing for that. Sal says maybe they use them to carry food, water, and ammo in. I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this whole 50 million for condoms. So the shooting in Vermont of the Border Patrol agent in Canada near the Canadian border, it disappeared from the media. Was there no sound?
Yeah, there's no sound. Are you back in?
Yeah, I went back in. All I did was take my stuff out, but you can still hear me because they can hear me when my picture's not up there before the show starts. So I think they could hear me. All right. All right. Well, there you go. Okay. So let me start again. The shooting of the Border Patrol agent in Vermont near the Canadian border disappeared from the media. Now, it's going to disappear from the media because it's the shooting of a Border Patrol agent, and we're supposed to believe that all people crossing the border, north or south, are just here for a better life, and they're really poor people, and we have to take pity on them and have some compassion, right? Well, it turns out, according to Andy Ngo, that both of the people involved in this are leftist trans militants. One of them, who was killed in the shootout, is a German believed to be in the country on an H-1B visa, and they are allegedly connected to a trans terror cell. So now we got trans terrorists because we don't have enough terrorists. Now we got trans terrorists. Federal law enforcement had been surveilling the German guy named Felix, also known as Ophelia Bockholt, and a Seattle student at the University of Washington, Teresa Milo Jungblut, whose pronouns are Z, Zem, Zir. And the reason they were on the radar is staff at a motel in Lyndonville, Vermont, reported seeing them with black tactical clothing, weapons, and protective military style equipment. They were pulled over on January 20th, and Youngblood, the American, allegedly shot the officer David Mayland dead in a surprise attack. In returning fire, the German, who was armed, was killed. Youngblood, the American, was injured and survived. So Andy Ngo spoke with Jessica Taylor, a Berkeley, California woman who had met Bockholt over the years, and she confirmed that Bockholt, the guy, is trans. So this is his picture here. This is him, Felix Ophelia Bockholt, and then Teresa Milo Jungblut. This is the officer who was killed. As Ophelia, Felix's social media and leaked private communications suggest he was connected to the violent trans militant cell centered around a person who uses the alias Ziz. Members of the trans group have been involved in violence. He was a math genius who graduated from the University of Waterloo in Canada before getting a job at Tower Research Capital in New York around 2021. After the shooting, law enforcement found multiple burner phones, laptops, and weapons in their vehicle. The surviving accomplice, Teresa Milo Jungblut, who is also a trans person, is accused of being the one that fired the shot that killed the veteran, the patrol officer, and has been charged with homicide. She's a biological female who identifies as trans and uses Z, Zem, Zir. So this is her here. This is her. There we go. All right. And this is Felix, and when he's a dude, I guess. So court filings suggest they were involved in the deadly attack, and they are indeed connected to a trans militant cell allegedly linked to 3 homicides across the U.S. In a court filing, the trans duo allegedly responsible for the attack on the Border Patrol officer allegedly used a gun purchased by a member of the Ziz militant trans cell. That person is linked to murder investigations of 3 elderly people in Vallejo, California, and Delaware County, Pennsylvania. We've never heard any of this, and we're not hearing anything about it because of the identity of the people involved. So here's Andy saying there appears to be a trans terror cell in the U.S. involved in serial killings. There's a court date January 30th for the one who survived, the trans murder suspect Teresa Milo Youngblood. She will be held. She's to determine if she'll be held without bail. She's accused of being a danger to the public and a flight risk because of her interstate and international ties and her ties to this terrorist group. So what is this group accused of doing? Well, one man, Curtis Lind, 82 years old in Vallejo, California, survived an assassination attempt on his life in 22 when alleged members of this trans cult, this terrorist group, impaled him with a sword and took out his eye as revenge for him seeking to evict them. He managed to shoot one of them dead. He was hospitalized for a month and barely survived. He was set to testify against the members of the group at an attempted murder trial, but was brutally assassinated on the street January 17th of 2025. He was stabbed in the neck, so they finally got him. A person of interest in this homicide is close with the Vermont trans duo, allegedly provided them with the firearms that they used in the killing of the Border Patrol agent. Here's the guy that they took away. So they blinded him, stabbed him, and then finally killed him. Let's see. Okay, the trans person and alleged ZIS member was Amir Emma Borhanian, who was killed by Lind. And then they assassinated him later. The Texas House LGBTQ caucus honored Borhanian, even though he died in the process of trying to murder an elderly victim. A GoFundMe campaign for his family raised tens of thousands of dollars. This is him right here, who thinks he's a she. The Seattle suspect accused of killing that Border Patrol agent applied for a marriage license with the suspect that was arrested over the murder of Lind. Lind was set to be the key murder and attempted murder trial witness against the alleged members of the group before he was stabbed in the neck and killed this month. 11 days ago, this happened. So they put out there, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Supporters of the ZIS terror group celebrated when he was assassinated successfully. They have used GoFundMe to raise tens of thousands for Borhanian's family, saying he was shot and killed without mentioning that it happened in the process of him trying to murder an 82-year-old man. So this just goes on and on and on. All of these things, these people that were allegedly murdered by these people or murdered but allegedly by these people. On January 2nd of 23, two people, Rita and Richard Zajko, were discovered killed at their home in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. The killings have been shrouded in mystery. No one's been charged. They have a leftist trans child, a biological man, who allegedly had or has links to this trans group, the trans terror group, and he has not been accused of any wrongdoing though. So it's a super interesting read. If you're on X, go to Andy Ngo, ANDYGNO. Go to his page and you can see more of that. But I just had to share that with you because you can tell it. To me, it's so telling when there's no outrage over something like the killing of a Border Patrol agent, which the left is never going to publicize. The leftist media is just going to let that die. It doesn't fit the narrative. They haven't figured it out yet. But when it dies that quickly, there's something wrong. And this really doesn't fit the narrative because it's another, if this woman did pull the trigger, it's another trans person committing a murder. It's kind of like some of the school shootings you don't hear anything about because the shooter, we find out, was trans. So you don't hear anything about it. There was just a school shooting, what was it, right, like a week ago, right? Around the inauguration. And you know why that disappeared from the media? That did not get any traction. The shooter was Black. So it dies. So the outrage is so selective and it's so obvious when it's selective like that. So I just had to share that with you because I hadn't heard anything about this trans terrorist cell that's in the United States. And apparently this has been going on for a while. And apparently there are murders connected to them. But I haven't heard anything about it until I saw Andy Ngo's piece. All right, Star says it disrupts the leftist agenda. That's why the media doesn't want to report on it. It will mess up drag queen story hour. Exactly. if people look at that, and go, maybe not so friendly. Porchview Farm says the Germans use them for those reasons. Sure, essential, and they have been repatriating bodies with condoms in the pockets. Oh, I didn't realize that because Shore Essentials had said that they is that soldiers use condoms to keep the sand and grit from going down the barrel of their rifles. Where am I? Sal, trans terrorists. What are their programs? X implosion. This is really getting worse. Was Sam Britton involved in the shootings? Scramble now. Well, if he did, if Sam Britton was involved, he was dressed fabulously in someone else's clothing when it occurred. What? Delco? Yeah. Yes, Suze. These people are so unhinged. Yes. Porch Suze agrees. Scott, you're still on the drones. Hermit says that's okay. Here it is. Gregory. Andy Ngo came to Richmond and had to change venues several times because Antifa kept threatening the places he was going to speak. Eventually, he spoke at a county-affiliated auditorium. Yeah, they hate him. They hate this man. They almost killed. They almost beat him. I watched that when they chased him down and they hunted him down. I thought, oh my gosh, this dude is going to lose his life. It was really bad. But he's very brave. So I give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. All right, moving on. There's so many things to talk about. So much winning. It's awesome. I can't get enough of it. Doesn't it feels very cool this time around because we actually get to celebrate winning in the open. Now, I haven't gone so far as to wear like my MAGA hat to physical therapy. You know what I mean? I haven't done that. And I haven't worn, a Trump shirt or anything like that because physical therapy is pretty much the only time I leave the house. Because I just have so much going on in the house. I don't get to leave. That's pretty much the only time I leave the house. But I don't know. I try not to wear political stuff, but it's okay now. I think to openly say, yeah, go Trump if you see something like on the TV or something like. It's a different feeling this time around. There's not one of those, oh, you're one of them. Like there's some people like that, but it's not as bad. All right, so I think this is going to make the leftists and the deep state happy. This was just broken before we just started this. According to NBC News, Trump's administration is going to offer federal workers the chance to take a deferred resignation with a severance package of roughly 8 months of pay and benefits. What the hell? The last job I got fired from, I think in my contract it was 3 months of pay, and I couldn't go anywhere else, couldn't take another job. They paid me for 3 months, and that was it. They didn't buy out my vacation, my unused vacation time they paid me for. Nope. If I had some vacation scheduled, they paid me for that. But if I had vacation that I hadn't scheduled yet, and they fired me in May. So I still had a lot of time that I hadn't, scheduled out yet. Too bad, so sad, sweetheart. But we're going to pay for these federal workers to get 8 months of pay and benefits. I don't know. Sue says, can you believe it's been only a week? So amazing. Woo! Mary, I've been sleeping so much better. I hear you. It feels so good. Sal, I'm waiting for the left and the Dems like AOC to say that winning is a threat to democracy, and it's racist. Yes, sure. I have a Trump t-shirt that celebrates him as the 4-time indictment champion. It is merch from Officer Tatum. Every time I wear it in public, it gets rave reviews. I love that. Now Tax USA says you're right. 3 months or go back to work. Where's the Doge Bros when you need them? Excuse me. A senior administration official told NBC News they expect 5 to 10% of the federal workforce to quit, which they estimate could lead to about $100 billion in savings. $100 billion. So you got to figure if you're like, well, if you're like 60, then you have probably retired already if you're in the administration. Or excuse me, if you work for the federal government. But if you're close to retirement age, which if you work for the federal government, that's probably like 50. Why wouldn't you take this? I get paid to sit on my butt for 8 months and then I just retire. It's a sweetheart deal. But why am I paying for this? Donald, what are you doing? What are you doing? The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement American taxpayers pay for the salaries of federal government employees and therefore deserve employees working on their behalf who actually show up to work in our wonderful federal buildings, also paid for by taxpayers. If they don't want to work in the office and contribute to making America great again, then they are free to choose a different line of work, and the Trump administration will provide a very generous payout of 8 months. 8. Axios first reported the buyout offer. It's set to go out to the federal workforce through a new system the Trump administration set up that gives officials the ability to email all federal employees at once. Oh, so nobody hears the news before someone else. Everybody gets it at the same time. Brilliant. In the email will be a draft resignation letter for them to review. If a person wishes to resign, they will be able to reply with the word resign. Resign, send. That's it. And you get 8 months of pay and benefits. That's crazy. The resignation period begins today and will go through February 6th. If you choose to remain in your current position, we thank you for your renewed focus on serving the American people to the best of your abilities and look forward to working together as part of an improved federal workforce. It says the email that will be sent to federal employees reads, but today's Tuesday. At this time, we cannot give you full assurance regarding the certainty of your position or agency, but should your position be eliminated, you will be treated with dignity and will be afforded the protections in place for such positions. So so it sounds like what's happening is, we're going to be cutting people from the government workforce. If you choose to not take this generous offer of 8 months and choose to resign and you want to stay, just realize your position may be terminated and the package ain't going to be as sweet as this. They do this a lot. Like since I live in New Jersey, like AT&T was always here and Verizon and all that. So they would have these. We used to call them purges, but they called them, what do they call them? Buyouts or a reduction, RIFs, reduction in force, and they would give you the option to take it. Like I have friends. I have a friend who's taking one. She's going to retire at what 56 or something like that, 56, 57. She's taken this buyout and she's getting, I don't know, she gets benefits for a year and she gets severance for I don't know how many months, and she's taking it and walking away because she knows the next package may not be as good. So she's taking the good one, and it sounds like that's what they're doing here. Musk sent a similar email to employees shortly after he took over Twitter. White House officials wouldn't say whether Musk was involved in the current effort, but the subject line in the email that will be sent to federal workers is a fork in the road. Musk now has a post pinned on X of an art piece he commissioned called A Fork in the Road. So this sounds like it has Musk written all over it. What do you think about this? Star Driver going back to Trump, and it's only been a week. Oh my gosh, so much winning. Says Trump kicked the Colombian president's ass. Yeah. They went one par the next hole. I don't know how he plays golf. I don't know how he plays golf with, that big. Yeah, because the left's complaining about Trump playing golf. And he was literally on the golf course when he sent the message to the Colombian president, like, okay, here we go. Tariffs to start Monday, did 25%. He was negotiating on the golf course. Man doesn't stop. Now tax says $100 billion pays 1/10 of the interest payment on the debt. Well, you got to start somewhere. Now that Trump won, I no longer have to hang garlic on my front door and sprinkle holy water every night. Squeaky says he's draining the hidden swamp. Yeah, that's one way, and you got to get the hidden swamp out. That's a great point. Gramble says OPM OMB sent an email regarding returning to work called Folk in the Road, but I think it means fork in the road. You know what? One of you guys sent me. Let me pull it up. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Oh, Christmas. Hold on. There we go. I get so many messages and stuff. And they changed, did you see they changed the look of X all of a sudden? They changed the look, which is annoying. And sent me, oh, I know where it is. Hold on. Something about a letter that they had gotten their hands on. Oh, here it is. Is this it? No. I gotta find it. Okay, I gotta find it. But anyway, one of you guys sent me something about a mail, a letter that you had gotten your hands on and sent it to me, and I was going to use it on the air, and I never got to it. I don't know where it is. Well, I got to sneeze. Hold on. Okay, one and done. Again. All right. Well, fine. I'll see if I can find that. I don't know if that was the same thing, Gramble, that you're talking about. That was so great. A SmackDown, yes, talking about the president of Colombia. Gregory, pre-buyout, many places of higher education were quietly attempting to help the displaced workers. Oh, you mean bring them into the academic sphere, doing that. That's kind of like a natural. So here's what I think. I think as DEI is going away in a lot of places and the government is starting to purge all of this stuff from it, you're going to see a lot of these far left swamp rats, the ones who truly have bought into the ideology so much, the communists, that whole crew, the real far left group. I think you're going to see them slowly start to. I think they're going to coalesce. They're going to get smart. They're going to get smaller. The group will get smaller, but you're going to see them start to go to academia. I mean, where else do they go? Because it was the government and academia, which is where they primarily live and thrive. And like the art world, you don't make a lot of money, but then in the art world, I think a lot of those kids and people moonlight as Antifa, if I had to guess. That would be my guess. So I guess that's where they're going to go is academia. Kind of makes a lot of sense. Scott says, I heard it's a bad precedent to be firing tenured civil servants for a disagreement reason. Well, he's not firing them, he's offering them a buyout. And why do civil servants have tenure? What is that? Why? Why would you have tenure? Just because you sat your seat in the butt for the longer than somebody else? No, merit-based. It should be merit-based. Why do we allow them to have unions? That's the other thing. Why is there a postal worker union? And why does the postal worker union endorse presidential candidates and then they're in charge of getting mail-in ballots out and back when they have proclaimed they want one side to win? That's like having a referee at the Super Bowl who has decided that, they've already professed that they want the Eagles to win, but you still let them do that because, we can trust them. Still let them be a referee in the game. Now, it's a clear conflict of interest. I don't think these workers should be allowed to unionize. I just don't. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. Oh, Gramble, you sent me the registration email. Damn, why can't I find it? Where is it? I knew somebody did. But it was around a really crazy time. Where is it? You sent it to my email, right? I gotta find. Well, all right. He sent it to me. I remembered that I had it. I just can't find it. Damn it. All right. So yeah. So he sent me the email. He sent the letter to me. Okay. Yeah, I remember. It was the DEI letter. Yes, about getting rid of the DEI and everything. And Herman South says, yeah, the exorcism has begun. Here's the thing. I've never seen people get so. It seems like, okay, so the left for 4 years of Trump just got exercised over everything. Went to 11 at everything Trump did. And then during the Biden administration, everything Trump did, they were still at 11 screaming, even though they had won. And now after Trump won, you see a lot of people like John Fetterman, like Bill Maher, there's just a lot of different talking heads from their side. Van Jones is another one who were saying, we can't continually react to everything. We can't scream about everything because when you scream about everything, people don't listen to what you're saying because everything you do is a tantrum. Everything's so extreme, they don't listen. And I think he's right. And I noticed with the inauguration, there were fewer people who were, you didn't see the protest. They had like the Women's March. It was called the People's March. It wasn't the Women's March this year. It was the People's March, I guess, because Women's March isn't inclusive enough, and you can't define what a woman is. So that's a problem. So they just called it the People's March. And there weren't as many as there were as the last time. The inauguration being indoors, I think, helped a lot. And it was really cold, and people don't like to protest when it's like minus 40 with the wind chill. It was so cold in DC. Oh my gosh, it was so cold. They don't want to do it. They don't seem to be as insane this time around. But as you're starting to see these things like, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is taking away your kids' school lunch. And that's not what's happening at all. And a normal person, when you see, oh, well, you told me this was going to happen and it didn't, and you told me this was going to happen and it didn't, would stop and think and say, maybe I'm being played. Maybe I'm being played. And that just doesn't seem to happen. So anyway, I surprised at some of the people still going, but I think some of them have calmed down a little bit, which is good. And I think they're starting to, as I said, they're starting to weed out, like there's an exhaustion. So the group of far left hardcore haters is getting smaller. It's becoming a smaller group. And I think there's more of them who are kind of peeling off and going, you know what? I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on this, which maybe there's more sanity out there than we knew. Thank you for the bless yous. I appreciate that. Uh, Scott Wagner, cool that the Colombian president sent his personal jet. I loved that. That was fantastic. Star Driver, what's the difference in CNN and the Titanic that Titanic went down with all of its anchors? By Jim Acosta. So I think I've told you this story. I know I've told it on the air before. So I have, Jim Acosta, that's not his real name, is not Jim. His real name is not Jim Acosta. His real name is Abilio Acosta. So, and I've told this, if you've heard this story before, I apologize if you've heard me tell this on the air. So, because I always laugh whenever I think about Jim Acosta. So back in 2019, January 2019, we get called to the White House. There was me, Sebastian Gorka, David Webb, Andrew Wilkow, my co-host Vince, Dom Giordano, and who was the other guy? I forget. It was some guy from Georgia. I can't remember his name. Anyway, so there were like 7 or 8 of us who were called. And I didn't know who was going to be there other than me and Vince, my co-host at the time. But we get called. We don't know where we're going. We don't know who we're going to meet. Are we going to the White House itself? We just had to send our social security numbers, driver's license to the Secret Service. And you had just a couple hours to get it in. And you had to be, if you got your approved, you had to be at a certain gate by a certain time. And if it was after a certain time, you weren't allowed in. Okay, so get there. We wind up in the press briefing room. Tell us go to press briefing room. Fine. So I've never been in the press briefing room, so it was really cool. It's actually disappointing because it's small. So it's actually disappointing. It looks way bigger on TV. So I'm standing there, and there's no room. There's all the chairs, and I'm standing along with the other people, Gorka, etc. And I'm talking to Andrew Wilkow. And all of the TV people are looking at us with disdain because we're radio people. So they're all looking down their noses at us. And Seb Gorka, who's a big guy, I just hear him yell across the room. Now, as I hear Seb start to yell, I get pushed out of the way. Somebody comes between me and Andrew Wilkow. Comes between the two of us. I'm like, whoa, what was it? And it's a little person. Like I'm only 5'7", but this person was like my height, maybe a little bit shorter. Boom, comes walking past. I'm like, what the heck? And I just hear Gorka over on to my right, and this body goes boom to my left. I hear Gorka go, Abilio, you, sir, are a dick. And I'm like, oh, and I'm looking at Seb. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And the whole press briefing room gets really quiet. I'm like, what? And it was Jim Acosta, and I missed it because I was talking to Andrew here, and this was going on over here with Seb, and I think David Webb was or whatever. But Acosta comes up to Seb and picks a fight with Seb Gorka, who's like, Acosta's got to come to like Seb's, like here, like just below Seb's neck, right? And he said something mean to Seb, like, what are you doing here, radio people? This is only for serious journalists, blah, 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 whatever. And so he walks away, and so Seb yells at him and calls him a dick across the press briefing room. Like, oh, this is awesome. So anyway, that was my one encounter with Jim Acosta, and I was shocked. I'm like, oh, he's got Napoleon syndrome because he's little. So he tries to build himself up to be a bigger guy. So yeah, he's a dick. And he acts that way, and now he's out totally. So yeah, bye, Jim Acosta. But you know what? I'm not going to let you fire me. I resign. So he's going out kind of with some dignity, but I will always remember him that way. And it was one of the funniest moments ever. It was one of my top 10 moments in DC. Sue says the hypocrisy of inhumane conditions by the USA is so freaking mind-blowing. Yeah, that's what they say. We have inhumane conditions. Why do government workers have a union? Star Driver asks. Yeah, great question. Yeah, now Tax USA. What about Mark Milley, soon to be the former general, being investigated by the Pentagon Inspector General? And I got more on that. Hold on. I was just reading that before we came on. This is also breaking. Okay. They took away his Pete Hegseth. Oh, this is play. Okay. I hate Fox website does that. It pops up a video that starts to play. So he announced he's immediately pulling Milley's personal security detail and his security clearance. He's also directing the new acting inspector general to conduct a review board to determine if enough evidence exists for Milley to be stripped of a star in his retirement based on his actions to undermine the chain of command during President Trump's first term. Remember, we found out in the waning days of President Trump's presidency, Milley was on the phone with China telling them, don't worry, whatever Trump says, I'm in charge. I'm not going to let him do anything. He didn't really pull an Alexander Haig, like I'm in charge, but he pulled a, don't worry, I've got it covered. I'm not going to listen to anything he says, etc., and went behind him. And that's a huge deal. The Pentagon is also removing a second portrait of Milley inside the Pentagon. This one is from the Army's Marshall Corridor on the third floor, honoring his service as Chief of Staff. Fox is told the removal of this second portrait will take place as soon as tonight. This means there will be no more portraits of General Milley inside the Pentagon. The first portrait from his time as the U.S. military's top officer was removed from the Pentagon last week on Inauguration Day, less than 2 hours after Trump was sworn into office. Now, he has been assigned personal security details ever since Iran vowed revenge for the killing of Soleimani in a drone strike. So, we provide a lot of security for a lot of people, and a lot of these people like Fauci, et cetera, are really rich. They're very wealthy. And yeah, you can pay. They're stripping police departments from citizens, right? They don't want us to have it. So, of course, if anything happens to him, it's going to be Trump's fault. Sal, academia is the foundation for converting minds. Mao spread communism from the ground, the basic population up. Yeah. Star Driver, Milley retired, but Hegseth could have him reactivated, and then they could go after him. But they can pull one of his stars in his retirement. Star Driver says the tantrums are why the mainstream media ratings are going on the dumpster. Yes, this is why Family Guy reruns have better ratings than CNN. Yes. Who wants to see these people have a constant temper tantrum? The one thing I will say about CNN is I give them credit, and I say this all the time. MSNBC is full-blown just mental retardation, and I don't say it in like the bad sense of the word. Like their growth has been stunted in some way. They can't think. They just can't think when it comes to Trump. And I just don't want to see it. They just complain about January 6th, January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. That's all they can do. CNN at least will have a discussion, and they'll have one or two Republicans on that panel. And they will, Scott, what's his name, will be on there. He's Scott Jennings, the most famous one, but then they'll have others on there as well. And they give them a chance to speak, and there's no one shouting over them. And it's a good exchange, and it's actually nice. Like, I kind of like that give and take. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear somebody just talk over anybody who disagrees with them or fight or shout them down. And I agree. I absolutely agree, Star Driver. That's why it's happening. Porchview says Van Jones, what an A beep. I knew him years ago when he was still going by Tony. The guy's a total phony. Wait, his first name is really Anthony? He's really Anthony Jones? Is that true? Is that true? Tell me, Porchview. Hermit, I hurt my fingers and flexed them into a fist, and a person infected with TDS started streaming that I was flashing a pro Trump sign. I love that. Sue's conservatives would still be out there, though, no matter how cold. Look at the Right to Life March. That's true. That's true. I have a friend who was at the Right to Life March. I have a couple of friends who were there on Friday, and it was cold. Let's face it, liberals are not the toughest people going. They're not harding stock. I would love the cold like that to be in DC, Scott says. Now tax, according to Levin, if found in violation of military code, they could take away his star and retirement, and then what else may come up? Oh, good. DC snow. Hermit Sal said, Seth said that to Acosta to paraphrase Gomer Pyle Shazam. Yes, Sal, that is hand to God true, and it was hilarious. I absolutely loved it. Greg loves this story. Star Jar, yeah, Milley went behind Trump's back. He absolutely did. Hermit Sal, I thought that General Milley was doing vital research in white rage. Milley went behind Trump's back twice. Milley ought to be busted down to the rank of private. Oh, I didn't know about two. I knew about one star, but not two. Mary says, by the way, Mary, that's a beautiful picture of you. Hegseth should have left the pictures up and let people put post-it notes with me. That would have been hilarious. Sue's General Milley could become the spokesperson for General Mills. Does kind of go. Hermit South says General Milley has nothing to worry about if his protection detail gets pulled. The communist Chinese will probably protect him. Star Driver Milley also did not have the National Guard ready after Trump told him to for January 6th. Yes, and I want to see all that come out. I want to see that all come out. The clock's ticking on the RFK, JFK, and MLK stuff. I'm going to see that come out. I'm really looking forward to that. That made me so happy this week. You can tell that Trump had all of this stuff obviously ready to go on day one. He has been planning this out for 2 years. And he knew he was going to win. He was so confident he knew he was going to win. And he knew exactly, he had it all his ducks in a row. He was ready to go. He's a true leader, as opposed to Joe Biden, who doesn't know what he signed a week before because he didn't really sign it. CNN and MSLDSD have lost millions of viewers, if I heard it correctly. So Portuguese Farm says Van Jones' real name is Anthony. Get out of here. Did anybody else know that? Van Jones' real name. Anthony Capel Van Jones. Yes. Anthony Capel Jones. Kapel. Get out. He just had his fourth baby. He just had his fourth baby. Did you know that last year? With his friend. And he has 2 kids with an ex-wife. Dear Lord. I learned something new today. Thank you, Portugal. I had no idea. Yeah, Trump removed the Secret Service security from one of those former people. Yeah, there's too much. We spend too much money on this. So it's time for it to go bye-bye. We spend way too much money on Secret Service protection for a lot of people that we shouldn't be spending Secret Service money on. All right, let's see. Over on Getter, Mike for Amy Freed chat. Media and news bogus virtue signals, privacy and feelings of dangerous and lethal pronouns. Media and news bogus virtue signals, privacy and feelings of dangerous and lethal pronoun monsters. He said we should call militias to defend civility. I got to tell you, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that that's probably a good idea. That's just me. And he also says, post all of it to condolence of family and friends about non-reporting. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about there, Mike. But yeah, the media and the news, bogus virtue signal, 100%. His parents are real pieces of work too. Oh, do spill the tea. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Hermit Sal's already out. So Hermit Sal's leaving us. It is time to go. So we will be getting out of here. Thank you, Mike, for joining us over there on Getter. Thank you so much. Sue says, be well, be safe, everyone. Gotta run. See you. Star wants Porch View Farm to spill the tea. All right. So we're going to be getting out of here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I do appreciate it. Again, please subscribe to the podcast if you have not done so. If you're watching this, please hit the thumbs up button. I really, really need you to do that. If you listen to one of the podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Speaker, Spotify, please subscribe. Please like them. Really need you to do that as well. Thank you so much. Thank you to Watching Your Back, Star Driver, Hermit, Suze. You know who was not here? Porch View. Omnicast was here. Yay. Thank you, Omni. Mango Mush was not here. Thank you to Ron. Thank you to Jerry. Now Tax USA. Good night, all y'all tax-paying citizens, he says. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much. And I will see you next week. I should be on Newsmax on the Chris Salcedo show on this coming Monday. Let's see. Star Driver says, remember to send out the podcast 2 weeks ago with Michael McCormick. Yeah, that's been up. It's on YouTube. It's on Getter. It's on, well, you can repost it from YouTube, from Apple Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker. The podcast 2 weeks ago with Michael McCormick, all about Joe Biden. It's phenomenal. It was an incredible, incredible podcast. If you have not heard it, also please share it. It was a fantastic podcast, not because of me, but because of our guest. I mean, Michael McCormick was unbelievable. So thank you for reminding me about that, Star Drivers. But yeah, it is out. It is up. It is ready to go. And so if you could share that, that would be fantastic. All right, I'm definitely out of here right now. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one. Take care. God bless and have a great week.